Welcome back. We're getting a new look at how Americans are viewing the economy. A new CNN SSRS poll finds that 31% find economic conditions in the U.S. are good, while 69% find them poor. Big margin there. A new Wall Street Journal poll echoes those numbers, with nearly 60% of voters surveyed rating the strength of the economy as weak, and nearly half of those polled saying the economy has gotten worse over the past year. Now, more than half of the voters surveyed disapprove of Trump's handling of the economy, inflation, and tariffs. And a majority of the voters polled, nearly 60%, say this is Donald Trump's economy, not Joe Biden's. And that, Joe, that's two parts here. First of all, Americans broadly disapprove. They're unhappy with the state of the economy, but they're also now tuning out what Trump continues to say. A year in, it's a year mark today. He's still saying, well, we inherited this from Joe Biden. He misrepresents what they inherited, but he suggests that the problems are Biden's fault. Americans simply aren't buying it.
You know, there's so many things that you're hearing commentators say they're surprised by. They're surprised by how far Donald Trump has gone. They're surprised by the moves that he's made domestically, the moves he's made internationally, the moves that seem to flaunt the rule of law. I would say also, though, if you had asked these people, if you or I had talked to each other about where Donald Trump would be on his approval rating on the economy, judging from his first term, we would say, oh, I'm sure it's going to be good, because it's always positive. Even when Americans disagree with him on other issues, some still support him, enough still support him to elect him because of economics. They turn they turn their nose away from everything else he's doing politically, but economically, you know, it keeps a lot of them in the game. These numbers for any president, any political party, would be devastating. For Donald Trump's Republican Party, it's hard to really explain just how historically bad this is for the Trump Republican Party, because this is the only leg they have left to stand on, even immigration. Because of the violence that he has unleashed on Americans, on people here who are here legally, and even those who are here illegally, who've been here for a very long time, even his numbers on immigration are so much lower than any of us would have believed they could be just 1 year ago today when he got sworn in.
Yeah, it is really remarkable. He, despite his, darkest moments of his first term, the two things he could point to were the polls that said, Americans largely like his handling of the economy, and at least some of them agree with where he is on immigration. Neither of those things are true anymore, and that's a real problem for Republicans taking those dismal numbers into November's midterms. And these poll numbers come as a new study contradicts President Trump's claim that foreigners are paying for tariffs. New research from the Kiel Institute for the World Economy, which is a German think tank, shows that the impact of tariffs is likely to show up in the form of higher prices for U.S. consumers. By analyzing shipments between January of 2024 to November of last year, so nearly a year, the researchers found foreign exporters absorbed only about 4% of the tariff increases by lowering prices, while American consumers and importers absorbed 96%. Joining us now, Chief Economics Correspondent for the Wall Street Journal, Nick Timmerose. Nick, great to see you this morning. We've been sort of making this argument for quite some time. Democrats have been trying to make this argument for quite some time that, hey, tariffs are a tax on consumers. Americans are going to be footing the bill here. Donald Trump has denied it time and time again, but these numbers show, frankly, he's wrong.
Yeah, and here's the study right here, America's Own Goal, who pays for the tariffs. And as you said it, the headline is that 96 cents of every dollar of a tariff increase landed directly on American importers or consumers. And that is not what the Trump administration had said would happen here. This study, they analyzed 25 million shipments that came over on ocean freighters, and they looked at what the tariff rate was at the time Did the price go up? Did the price go down on that imported good? And so this is the first, serious study of what we've seen with the digestion of these tariffs.
Nick, that's how a tariff works, right? I mean, everybody knows that, except the administration has consistently tried to give a different explanation of what a tariff is. And did you get any sense of why and how they've maintained this fiction, or like what do administration officials say when confronted with just a simple fact of how economics works?
Well, you could point to places where sellers may have lowered their prices. But overall, what this has found, I mean, they looked at certain event studies. So in Brazil, when we raised tariffs last year to 50%, did Brazilian exporters cut their prices? No, they didn't. They simply shifted production else. They sold into other markets. And so exporters didn't cut prices. They just stopped selling here. What the Trump administration will point to is really two things. One is, $200 billion is a lot of revenue that was brought in. And they can also point to how there wasn't a lot of retaliation. I think that was the big surprise economists had last year was, well, we're going to get into a trade war and then prices are going to go up everywhere. And the Trump administration succeeded in raising these taxes, these consumption taxes or supply chain taxes, without a lot of blowback. But that doesn't mean that, the U.S. importers, that somebody in that supply chain had to pay.
But Nick, do you have a sense from people you talk to that basically, I mean, you get the sense that Donald Trump is not going to be convinced by the Kiel Institute's study here. I don't think he's up reading it today. That essentially the Supreme Court is the wild card here and that they are going to save Donald Trump from himself. And you actually hear a lot of Republicans sort of secretly hoping for that to happen. I mean, how is that being perceived, even hypothetically at this point?
Well, I think what you've seen over the weekend with these threats of new tariffs on Greenland sort of underscore all right, 2025 was the year where we had elevated uncertainty. And when you talk to business owners or CEOs, they said, well, uncertainty is going to go down in 2026. The big hope this year was that now that we had that certainty, you could plan. And so that's where these new tariff threats and the prospect that the Supreme Court could come in here and say, no mas, we're not going to keep doing this, creating new, provocations. And so I think that's the wild card for the U.S. economy in 2026. Are these the final rates and everybody accepts it now and the importers know it and the exporters know it? Or are we going to continue to have a 52 card pickup with tariff policy?
Chief economics correspondent for the Wall Street Journal, Nick Timrose, thank you so much for being on the show. You can read his latest piece online for the Wall Street Journal. And The Atlantic's Mark Leibovich and Eugene Robinson, thank you both as well for coming on this morning.